Hey, hold on real quick. Hold on. Pause.
With that, we'll jump into our At Me segment. Reminder, this is the Don't At Me podcast. We've got an At Me segment. What is that about? We want you guys to add us. Join the conversation. Give us some combo prompts, some questions, things that you've been wondering, thinking, trying to sort through. You want some other perspectives. This week, we had a pretty good question. Our At Me question for the week is, who cares more about looks, men or women? Now, I love this one because it makes you think. It makes you, again, you might have an initial, oh, of course, like men care more about looks. Women don't care about that. It's like, well, I don't know. And Joc, you were kind of handling the socials, getting all the responses. And kind of like you mentioned earlier, it's actually a little bit more 50-50 on what we got as far as feedback.
It definitely was, and I was surprised by that because, once again, in my opinion, I feel like men care about the physical attraction, and a woman just cares about the more like emotional and like personality side of things. But I was wrong, which is it's a good thing. Like we're all wrong and stuff. We all still learn, and it just really showed me that it depends on the individual, like more than anything. Like man, woman, doesn't matter. It depends on like what they actually stand for and like their morals and like what they deem is ethnically like right or whatever. So yeah, it was really split down the middle, bro. Like it's 50-50, and I'm like, okay, some women said men's women, and then vice versa. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. And I didn't really get a chance to like reach out to him and ask him like, hey, like why'd you say what why'd you give the answer that you gave? But that can be for like another pod maybe one day, and just to kind of see like their mind frame from it. But it was very interesting. I'll leave it at that. It was very interesting.
Yeah, you all can shoot us questions on social. We're on Instagram and Twitter at therep.network, Facebook at repertoire TPN. Again, that's going to be our go-to for all of the podcasts within the Repertoire Podcast Network. This one was, particularly interesting to me because conventional wisdom does say men, right? Of course, men care more about looks. Men are shallow. Men are dogs. Men are promiscuous. Men might step out of their relationship and, have a little fling on the side or something like that. Like all that's conventional wisdom.
Yeah, it's a stigma.
Stigma, 100% stigma. But, you look more at, I think about when we were in high school versus even now, right? And you think about the societal norms and how things have changed up. I think because of technology, because everything is right here, you can text somebody, you can DM somebody, you can really interact with people ways that we never could. I remember, I guess middle school, really like having crushes when I was in middle school. You had to call, you hope that they have their own private line in their room. You call them up, or you're calling mom or dad saying, hey, can you patch me through? Right. Or you're doing this, so you talk about writing letters?
Writing letters, yeah, with the check mark. Do you like
that? Was the best, though. When you had those letters, though, with the swack, seal with a kiss, you're like, oh.
Yeah, a little heart.
But I think because of then, you had, it was a lot more difficult. You go on a date, and then that's kind of it. You might call them, and then that's it. Mm-hmm. Because of technology, you have a date, and then it's, hey, had a great time. And then you're kind of keeping that conversation going, maybe putting your foot in your mouth, But then on the other side of that, huh?
I was like, most of the time you are putting your foot in your mouth.
Quit while you're ahead is usually a good tip to go off of. But, because of that, now you can have a lot more instantaneous communication. The reason why I bring that up, I feel like attitudes about sex have changed greatly over the last 10, 20, I feel like every decade it's exponentially different. And I think that before it was, there's this double standard, guys sleep around and, women, if they sleep around, they're whores or whatever the case. Not my words. I'm just speaking conventional wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit more of, you look at dating apps. Women can initiate things. If it's Bumble, the ball is all in the woman's court, right?
Right.
And so I guess with that, it makes sexual activity, dating a little bit more easy for everybody. And I think that it also kind of makes sex feel a lot more casual because you can make it happen a lot easier. You know, you can text people and then all of a sudden, hey, there might be a girl that you see at the gym that you're like, man, I want to talk to her. You know, I'm really interested. You're both single, but you only really get to see her every time you're at the gym, right? You
Right,
know,
right.
fast forward into our era now, you can always go up to her, get her information, you know, social, phone number, whatever the case. I don't know how you do that because it's so hard. It's so awkward doing that in the gym anyway. But
Yeah.
regardless, like now, instead of saying, man, I hope I see that person at the gym the next time, you go up, you get their number or their social media, you can have a conversation with them the second you leave the gym and keep that going. You
Right.
know,
Facts.
now bringing this back to the looks thing, I think that looks probably matter less across the board.
You
I
know what
mean,
I
you
think,
will
bro?
see, you know, women I feel like can dress more promiscuously now than they could in the past and get away with a little bit more. I mean, younger people, you know, like how many times you see somebody like, how old is that person? Like, you're dressed like that,
Right.
right? But it's just, we've all had a lot, like today's era, it's just kind of desensitized the importance of that. And I think the reason why I bring that up is that I feel like looks overall matter less, even though they still obviously matter. But you also have a lot more of that faking your looks and filters and, you know, all of that. So
Yep.
while the
Face
looks
to me.
themselves might matter less in the long term, it does probably matter more in the beginning to kind of reel somebody in. I don't know. Now I'm kind of contradicting myself. Help me work this out, Joc.
No, definitely it matters. And what I was gonna say, like you bring up a good point that initially, like we have eyes. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. We have eyes. We're not gonna want to talk something that's not appealing to like what we see. Like I'm just gonna, if that's shallow or not, like whatever, you guys can at me, but it is what it is. We all like have eyes and we see stuff. But what I was gonna mention is I noticed that like the older you get, looks don't really care as much. Like, it depends on your mature level. And I said it even with myself, like before when I was, a young 18, 19-year-old, all I care about is, man, she got to be a yellow bone. She got to have a fat ass, big titties, all that stuff, right? And now it's like, I don't really care about that, man. Like, it's cool if it's there, but like beauty really is only skin deep. And you realize that the older you get, like, I'd much rather have somebody that's like really into me and really likes me. I know she's going to hold me down, like, the good, bad, whatever. She's not just with me because like I look good solely or like my materials, like my car or house or whatever. You know what I'm saying? The way I dress, like she doesn't care about that. She cares about Jacquees, like the inside. That people don't really get to see that much unless they really know me. And so yeah, and I'm just thankful. You know what I mean? Like just realize like, dang, I really grown a lot myself with that. I'm not as shallow anymore. We're just, hey, this person just has to look good. For me to like try to do something like, now granted, I know I'm probably gonna sound like I'm contradicting myself as well. You still have like some kind of standard, something, but it's not like, that's not the sole purpose of anything, if that makes sense, so.
Right. And yeah, I mean, bringing it back to the initial topic, tribalism, I think looks mattered a lot more in the past, than they do now. They still matter. Again, looks matter, but it's not everything. But I think that tribalism in the past was a lot different because it was more of like, ooh, you're kind of messing around with that person. Like they're not up to the tribe standards,
Right.
whatever the case. Where now I think people are a little bit more, more inclusive overall. It's funny that it's in a way we've become more tribal, yet in a lot of ways more inclusive. I guess that's just kind of an example of us becoming more polarized, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
not a lot, there's a lot of people that are hardcore tribal. There are a lot that are just hardcore, like anything goes. There's not a lot of gray area. Some of the responses that we got on there, a lot of people said, oh, well, men care about looks. Women care about, you taking care of them or providing for them or giving them material and things like that. That was pretty common response, probably all from men themselves thinking within their own group. But, it is interesting, and I think part of the question comes too from, you see a really attractive woman with maybe a chubby guy or something like that. And you're like, how did that happen?
And we see that a lot, and that goes back to what we're saying. Like, hey, they don't really care as much about that, like they really don't, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. It's complex. That's why we've gone back and forth. But I mean, I would say if you ask me who cares more about looks, I would say men a little bit more, just like the everyday average guy. But I also think that's because men are more impressionable. I think that male peer pressure can really dictate who you are a lot more than female peer pressure. So I would say my personal thought, men care a little bit more because I think other men will make some of the weaker men feel worse for not, being up to standard or up to caliber.
Right.
But I
My thought,
mean, I don't know. You all tell us, at us, tell
yeah,
us what you think.
you guys tell us, and like my answer to that, I think men for sure, because I know some people who I know damn well they don't want to be with that person, but they just keep them around just for the sex or because they look good, but that person may not be as like intelligent as they would like as far as having those deep conversations, but the sex is good, so they keep them around. Versus if it's a woman and the person was attractive and the sex was good, they don't care about that. They're gonna like peace out maybe like once or twice. After a while, you're gonna stop hearing from them slowly. They'll start ghosting you. So that brings to why I chose the answer I chose, men. So
Like I said, you all tell us what you think. Add us, the Rep Network, Instagram and Twitter. Shoot us an email too. If you haven't emailed us before, the email address is repertoirenetwork@gmail.com. Shoot us your questions, either your thoughts on who cares more about looks, men or women, or if you have another question entirely. Hey, don't at me. I would like to hear you all chat about this topic. Shoot us an email. We'll check it out. We'll shout you out if the question's good enough. But yeah, definitely join the conversation. And like I said, I think men care a little bit more than women.
we had the other question too. Remember the other one?
Which one?
The stick. Not, what am I saying? Stigma. Stability. I was like, hey, and I actually I didn't say like who. I just asked them. Like the our followers, like, what do you care more about? Physical attraction or stability? And that one was 50-50 too. You know what I mean? To like my surprise, like I had a lot of guys that said stability, and I was like, But what I noticed, and it brings me back to like my point that I, made earlier, a lot of those guys that did say stability were a little older, they're our age, versus the young ones who say, oh, physical attraction, so that goes back to that whole maturity thing, which is interesting.